Support comes from Mosby Building Arts, creating laundry rooms with improved storage, workspace, and everyday function for one of the home's most used spaces. Inspiration at callmosby.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. It's time to dig into our monthly rundown of new restaurant openings and closings in the St. Louis area, and to talk about the local arrival of the Slop Bowl, a food trend that tastes a whole lot better than its name suggests. Joining me now are our regulars for this segment, STLPR digital editor Jessica Rogen. Hello.
Hey, Elaine.
And St. Louis Public Radio morning newscaster and host of The Gateway, Abby Llorico.
Hi.
So let's get started. There are national chains coming to St. Louis, and one of them has opened in Cottleville. Jessica, tell us about Cava.
So if you've never had Cava, I like to describe it as the Chipotle of Mediterranean food. And so basically what that means is there are a whole lot of like base options like salad, rice, toppings, protein, sauces, and you all just kind of pick what you like and put it in a bowl. This is the slop bowl that you referred to in your delightful intro. And this was like an East Coast chain. It has a huge following, and so people were very excited for the first one to come to our location.
I used to work across the street from a Cava in Washington, D.C., and not just bowls, and they have the wraps. The kids' meal was actually like the cheapest lunch you could get in D.C., and you just add a few extra things to it. It was great. But yeah, big cult following there. So that was the saddest thing about leaving D.C. for me, was leaving a Cava across the street. Oh. The one out in Cottleville is a little bit farther from STLPR than my previous workplace, but, it could still be worth the trip.
And, this year, the company says we're getting one a little bit closer to us. Mm-hmm. They'll be one in Des Peres.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the appeal of this particular restaurant chain, Abby?
Well, frankly, for me, it kind of reminds me of like Balkan Treat Box, actually. So I actually kind of, well, Jessica disagrees, but here's where the face for radio that I just got. Okay, here's why I say that. Because it's a focus on kind of more fresh ingredients. It's not like heavy cheeses and sauces and things like that you might get from other types of like Chipotle style places, but it kind of gives you a healthier option, and that similar like Mediterranean flavors that aren't always as accessible in a more fast casual atmosphere. So that's where the comparison kind of ends. But we have some options in St. Louis that are local, and so it's kind of more rare, I feel like, to have that kind of fast casual thing that's not Mexican, that's not noodles or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And what is the disagreement here, Jessica?
Well, it's really just the comparison to Balkan Treat Box, which is like one of the most delicious places.
100%.
So like Cava is great, I think, like for a chain, but with the for a chain being like a pretty heavy asterisk.
Agreed.
It just like is not as delicious as like any single local restaurant anywhere,
right.
I swear.
Going to the other end, I guess, of what a meal would be, there is a Paris Baguette that is opening in Olivet. Jessica, give us a little bit of background on what is coming to that part of town.
So it's actually open. It just opened. And this is a South Korean bakery chain that's kind of like taken over the world, I would say. You walk in. There are huge self-serve bakery cases with like the just most visually delightful array of pastries, both sweet and savory, and also kind of like more casual pastries, I would call them, and also like beautiful like chiffon cakes and like really delightful like French-inspired concept. You just go fill up a tray with as much as you want. If there's something to heat up, they'll heat it up for you. And then you eat it We had some cream puffs in-house yesterday at St. Louis Public Radio. They were pretty good.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I know a lot of people were very excited to see this open in the region.
And this I had in Korea back in the early 2000s. So it's interesting to see it come to the middle of St. Louis. And it is open already. Another place that has opened is a different kind of meal. And this is a chain. It's a franchise that is opening its first location in Missouri, and that's Shorty's Diner Westport in Maryland Heights. That is a diner that's known for classic breakfast fare. There are 3 locations in Virginia, and they've got sort of the standard dishes. I love a country fried steak. They've got that, biscuits and gravy, which we've talked about before, corned beef hash. They've got something called a Shorty's garbage plate, which it's a bed of hash browns. It's got scrambled eggs and melted cheddar, the sausage gravy, and then you can choose a protein, those being bacon, sausage, or ham. That's a signature Shorty's dish. They also have a slinger. And this brings us back to slop bowls. So, Jessica, you have made the argument that a slinger is the St. Louis OG slop bowl.
Yes.
Defend this case.
We're taking some hot takes this morning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to tweak it. You have to put it in a bowl. But
Okay.
if it's in a bowl, I think it would qualify. So, I mean, this kind of brings me to what is a slop bowl? And I kind of went down an internet wormhole on this yesterday. This is an internet term, and it does really seem to especially apply to chain restaurants, especially ones that are venture capital funded, like your Sweet Greens, your Kavas. But I think we can expand that definition a little bit. There's this idea that in our day and age, we're just throwing things in a bowl and then eating it. And there's all kinds of slop out there, like AI slop and whatever. And this is just the food equivalent to it.
Yeah.
I also think that most of the slop bowls out there do have that kind of healthy, fresh ingredient vibe to it that you're talking about, Abby.
Yeah.
But I do think St. Louis doesn't always like a healthy ingredient. Sometimes we're just all about the slingers or about the pork steaks. And so I think if you put a slinger in a bowl, it's got lots of different ingredients in together. This is our local slop bowl.
Just the word slop reminds me of slovenly, of slatternly. These are not positive
Well,
words.
I think to Jessica's point, a slop bowl is an internet meme term. It's not a culinary phrase, okay? So, it's the idea that we are so busy that we have to just kind of shovel this homogenous, every bite tastes the same jumbling of our proteins and our veggies and our grains and get it all at once. That is my understanding of what kind of qualifies something as a slop bowl. So theoretically, a salad, if you mix it up a lot, could be a slop bowl. That's where the Sweet Green kind of comes in. My favorite salad at Sweet Green is a little light on the lettuce part and vegetables part, So it's kind of this idea that we can't take our faces off of our screens or whatever we're doing at work long enough to be able to have distinct bites of things. We just kind of have to shovel it in there.
Well, and I will say definitively that bibimbap is not a slop bowl, and I'm willing to fight anybody who comes at me.
So why is it not a slop?
different.
So I think part of the slop bowl is this idea of having, like Abby said, these different elements, your grains, your veggies, your proteins all together, and then you mix them. And isn't that part?
Well, the ingredients that go into bibimbap, each of those vegetables and things, that they are prepared in very special ways, and that pibim actually means mixed, so it's supposed to be together. Whereas with a slop bowl, you can throw in whatever you want. It's like that KFC, Patton Oswalt. I think there was a... So as we wrap this, so that we can get to some of these openings.
We have a lot more to say about it, but that's okay, Elaine.
So the Vine is apparently launching a bowl thing too?
Yeah, they've got a big banner on their window. I don't see it on their website. I was curious if you could order it, but I think you go in, you can make your own bowl of Mediterranean ingredients. So if you don't want to drive to Cottleville, maybe go to the Vine and have a more delicious version.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's get to some more openings here. And what we have this month is sort of this theme of restaurant expansion and transformation. Jessica, tell us about what's happening in the Grove.
Yeah, so Fern Grove just opened. This is the sort of second location or second concept of Fiddlehead Fern, which is in Shaw. It's a really beautiful coffee shop with a bunch of good food options. They're especially known for their like avocado toast with like beautifully composed microgreens and all that kind of stuff on top. I went in yesterday to Fern Grove and got a very delicious matcha, so I can attest that it's just as good. This is in the former Songbird home in the Grove, so it's not in the main drag. It's on Shoto, and there's a lot of space for patrons. They built a beautiful patio out back, so just a really nice addition.
Mm-hmm. Now moving over to St. Albans. Abby, you got a chance to check out Mabel Mays at Head's store.
Yeah, so the last weekend in April, family wedding. Congratulations again to Maddie and Henry. We were out there in St. Albans, and if you're unfamiliar, which I grew up in St. Louis and St. Charles County, and I wasn't super familiar with this Franklin County destination, but it's a golf course community, but it also has a really picturesque lake that you can fish in and swim in and take a boat and a paddleboard out. It's quite lovely, and it's become quite popular with cyclists because there's some great trails out there. And so the Head's store, it kind of looks like something you'd see like in Branson. You know, it looks historic. And frankly, when we went to go grab lunch there, I was expecting a deli sandwich type of selection. And it was much more than that, because just recently, the young chef and his young family, like his wife runs the counter and his little baby is sitting right there, and he's back in the kitchen, Hayden Jones, they will make you some foods that are actually more culinary because he was in Texas for a while. He worked at a Michelin star restaurant in New Orleans, and it was really delicious homemade from scratch biscuits. I had a brisket biscuit. My dad had this spicy fried chicken sandwich that was like juicy and delicious. The pancake stacks were fluffy. And so it's a great opportunity to kind of go outside and explore a different part of the St. Louis area. It's just west of Chesterfield, near Wildwood, about 10 minutes from Wildwood. And then have a really solid breakfast or lunch. They're open on weekends.
Mm-hmm. Another place that has opened is Rosalita's Cantina. And Abby, you have a little bit about this, and this is in O'Fallon, Missouri, or as we say in the newsroom, Mo'Fallon.
Mo'Fallon, yes. St. Charles County gets another Mexican restaurant. Rosalita's is known for being kind of elaborately decorative inside. That's one of the things. It's kind of like replaces the Casa Gallardo, fills that hole for some.
For those who know.
Yes, if you know, you know. But this is Tex-Mex, so it is not Mexican food. It's Tex-Mex. So just keeping that in mind. But they had kind of been waiting a while to open. A lot of people were really excited for them to announce their opening date. So they are open now. And they're hiring, and that seems to be one of the biggest messages that they're putting out there. And we may remember a couple years ago, restaurants being able to secure staff was a big thing. And so I'm interested in how much Rosalita's in O'Fallon is pushing that they're looking to build their team up. So if you're looking for a job, where margaritas are available.
Yeah.
Rosalitas.
An interesting perk there. We're talking today about new restaurant openings and closings over the past month. And as usual, I am speaking with St. Louis Public Radio's Jessica Rogen and Abby Llorico. Let's talk about some of the closings that have happened. Some of them are closings for good. Others are relocations. And we have that with a restaurant that was in the Del Mar Maker District, right, Jessica?
Yeah. So you're talking about Florentin. And this is a Ben Paremba restaurant. He is moving to relocate it. So I think a couple months ago, we talked about how Steve Hot Dogs had pulled out of the Del Mar Makers District. And, just saying that it was really hard to recover from the tornado. Like the foot traffic never pulled up. Ben Paremba has another restaurant in that same little complex where Steve's was, Nixta. And so he is consolidating his restaurants in that area. So I thought that was really interesting. If you haven't been, it's like the restaurants are around this like open space with fake grass where you can like kind of let your kids run around. Turf, that's the right word. And I've always enjoyed that. So I'm glad to see that he's moving his other restaurant there. And I'd love to see it kind of come back to life. And I hope it does.
Yeah.
And Esca is still in the Makers District too, right?
It is. Yeah.
Things are still kind of getting back, I guess, back to where they were before.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know how long it's going to see for those businesses to recover. They weren't in the heart of the damage from the tornado, but obviously that doesn't mean you can't be like really impacted at the same time.
Sure. Vincent Van Donut had recently kind of reopened, but it has closed. Abby, tell us a little bit here.
Yeah, just a quick update on this one. This beloved donut shop in the Grove that kind of has a long history because it got some national attention under its original ownership. The current owner had a mental health situation to address, and he's been quite open and vulnerable about that and his need to step away. And we were really excited to be able to share the news that he did, which was that he was coming back and seemed to be really energized by the idea of pouring himself back into this business. And as you know, as sometimes happens, that isn't how it played out. And so there's going to be the business is closed. He says permanently, and that he's going to auction off the items in that space. There's been some clamoring from his closely watching public to try to sell the business and, pass it to a third ownership, but that's TBD. We'll keep you posted if we see anything about that, but that does not seem to be the plan as of now.
Well, wishes for good health.
Yes.
Right, and a good outcome there. Another place that has closed because of an accident was in Belleville. Jessica, tell us about Cupio's Barbecue.
Yeah, so Cupio's opened in February, and they have already closed, hopefully temporarily, because they had an electrical fire. Owner Michael Green told the BND or the Belleville News Democrat, that the building needed to be rewired. And they asked, are you going to try to reopen it? And he told them he was going fishing. So the jury is still out on whether he's going to reopen it. But that sounds like the kind of response of someone who's very frustrated. And I think we'll hear a formal decision later. I suspect that, he just needed to get away and clear his head.
And one other closing that is happening is Sabroso Cocina Mexicana in St. Anne. For those who are fans of that food, the Maplewood location is still open. So a little bit of shrinking there, but there's still a place to enjoy that food. We are here at the beginning of May. What is there to look ahead to, Abby?
Well, we know that there's going to be a lot more of this moving and shaking, especially as we enter the warmer winter months. Some of it's going to be good, where we know some openings, some liquor licenses that folks are hoping are going to come through. Bistro La Floraison in Clayton is actually unfortunately closing because, Elaine, you mentioned fires are one big thing. lease renewals and the availability to secure their space, unfortunately, is another big factor that restaurateurs have to deal with that the dining public doesn't often see, and that seems to be what happened with them. The Galenas do not seem to be closing that place at the end of this month by their own choice. But, we're just going to kind of keep seeing as the weather warms up and people go out and about again. This is kind of the chance to go out and support local businesses. And before I get too many emails, local businesses is always going to be better than a chain. I agree with you, Jessica.
Thank you, Abby. I wanted to shout out a restaurant that I have just seen recently posting on Instagram. I'm getting very excited for. This is Aubrey. So this is going into the former Small Batch space in Midtown.
Oh.
So that was the whiskey vegetarian concept from the Baileys. Aubrey is taking that kind of like upscale to the next step. They're going to do more of a fine dining concept. That restaurant is super beautiful space with like these wrought iron railings on a second floor that you can are open. You can see like really cool tiled floors. They've repainted it to be like even darker, said that they were going to dim the lights and stuff. So I'm just thinking this is going to be the ultimate date night, and I'm excited to get out and experience it.
Great to see something else coming into that space too.
Yeah, good luck to them over there. Abby Llorico is St. Louis Public Radio's morning newscaster and host of the Gateway podcast, and Jessica Rogen is STLPR's digital editor. Thanks for coming through today, and we'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You can find a list of the STL area spots we talked about and more at our website. Just go to stlpr.org/new restaurants.
This episode was produced by Danny Wissentowski.
And our executive producer, Alex Hoyer.
Audio editing by Danny Wissentowski.
Podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Hi, I'm Laura Hamden, and my colleague Jessica Rogen and I are your daily hosts of the Gateway newsletter. We meet with the editors in the STLPR newsroom every weekday to bring you the top local stories of the day in a quick and easy 6-minute read by 6 a.m. In an age of overwhelm, it's a refreshing, thoughtful take on the news day, if we do say so ourselves. Fine-tune your daily news habit with the Gateway newsletter. Subscribe at stlpr.org/gateway.